Hello everyone, welcome to lesson 10 of the grade 3 ABRSM Rudiment of Music class. My name is Lotana Ernest and I'll be your facilitator for this lesson. Our learning objectives are to identify intervals by number and more importantly by quality. And then we'll be able to differentiate between intervals in major scales and intervals in minor scales. So let's go into it right away. I'm not going to define what intervals are because we've done that in grade 1. So if you're still struggling to understand what do I mean by intervals, then you may need to visit our grade 1 lessons and acquaint yourself with what intervals are, and then before coming back to this lesson. But so far in our grade 1 and grade 2 classes, we've only identified intervals by number when we say the distance or an interval between the tonic or the keynote and the second degree is a second, then you move the tonic between a note and maybe the third degree is a third, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth. So we've only been identifying intervals by number. But that's not a complete picture because we need to also, for us to get a complete description, a complete picture, we need to add the quality of the interval, the name of the interval to the number. So not just only the number now, we also had the quality or the names of the interval. So you know what the name of the interval is. So that's very important. So why is quality important? Why should we not just be interested only in the number of the interval? Why should we be thinking about the name or the quality of the interval? Because intervals that have the same number might differ, and I will explain that in the next slide. For example, the interval between C and E is a third, right? C, D, E, 1, 2, 3. That's a third. Also, the interval between C and E flat is also a third. C, D, E. Forget about the flat or whatever. You just count the letters like we taught you in grade 1 and grade 2. It's also a third. So you have C to E is a third. C to E flat is a third. But you will agree with me that although both intervals are a third, they are not exactly the same. You can't tell me C to E is exactly the same thing as C to E flat. So if I play the two keys together, C and E, and I play C and E flat together, they won't sound exactly the same way. So that's that's common sense. So therefore, we need to distinguish them. Yes, both of them are third, but what type of third? So we need to qualify them. We need to give that third a name to be able to distinguish and differentiate for example, C to E and C to E flat. And we will do that with 3 different names, 3 different interval qualities, which we're going to deal with. There are other interval qualities, but for this grade 3, we'll be looking at the perfect interval, major intervals, and minor intervals. So those are the 3 names that we will use to distinguish all these intervals as we go on. So let's look at key facts about interval qualities. When I talk about interval qualities, I'm talking about the names: perfect, major, and minor. So intervals produced by the 4th and 5th degrees above the tonic, as well as by the octave, are all described as perfect. So anytime you see a 4th degree, a 5th degree, or what you call an 8th degree, in terms of the octave, you call them perfect intervals. I don't want to go into why they are called perfect, because if you look if you think about when we're dealing with the degree names, the dominant, the subdominant, and then the octave, those names kind of signify that these are perfect. They have a perfect relationship between the 2 notes, between the tonic and the 4th, the tonic and the 5th, and the tonic and its octave. So note that. So when you're talking about 4th, 5th, and 8th, it's all perfect. So it's a perfect 4th, oh, the interval between this and this is not just a fourth, it's a perfect fourth, or it's a perfect fifth, or it's a perfect eighth. So you're now adding the quality to the number to give us the complete description of the interval. And it doesn't matter whether it's for major scales or for minor scales, the distance, the interval between the tonic and the fourth degree, tonic and the fifth degree, tonic and its eighth degree or its octave are all perfect, whether it's in major scales or minor scales. Please note that. Now let's go to the second degree. For the second degree, it produces a major interval for both the major and the minor scale. So in the second degree, that's the tonic to the second degree, that interval, what we normally call second in grade 1 and grade 2, now should be called major second. Major second. It is major, simply because between that first degree and the second degree, you have not just two notes that makes it a second. You also have a tone difference between those two notes, and that's why it is a major second. So it is a second because it is two notes. You are counting two notes, the tonic, for example, C and then D. But it is major because the interval between C and D is a tone, two semitones. So that's why it's major second. So it's the same for both the major scale and the minor scale. So if I put everything we've done together now, major scale and the minor scales have the same quality of intervals for fourth degrees, fifth degrees, for second degree, fourth degree, fifth degree, and eighth degree. So note that there is no difference in the way you name intervals for these degrees in the major scales as well as the minor scales. Now let's go to the second part of our nomenclature. The other intervals that we are going to look at is the third, the sixth, the seventh. So we've done second, we've done fourth, we've done fifth, we've done eighth. Now the third, the sixth, the seventh are not always the same for both the minor and the major scales. So let's come to the major scale. The third degree in a major scale is a major third. So if you go back to the example that I showed you, where we kind of said C to E, all right? C to E is a third. This is a third. But because if you look at it on the scale of C major, C, D, E, because it's on a major scale, it is a major third. But if you look at C minor, so you look at C minor, C to E flat, all right? C to E flat is also a third, like I told us at the introductory aspect. But this is now a minor third because it's on a minor scale. So the third for a major scale is a major third. The third for a minor scale is a minor third. And what is the difference? Why are both of them not having the same either major or minor? It's because yes, there are three notes in between, from C to E and from C to E flat. That makes it a third. But the number of semitones differ. So the number of semitones that makes a major third is 4 semitones. So it's a major third, 2 tones, 2 solid tones. But for a minor, it is diminished by 1 semitone. You have 3 semitones, and therefore it's not a major, it's a minor because it lacks 1 semitone. So that's just the difference, and that's a very significant difference. That difference is very significant, a major third and a minor third. That is what differentiates a major scale actually from a minor scale. I won't go into that details. In grade 4, grade 5, you will understand the importance and the power of a major third and a minor third. So please don't lose that focus. Then let's go to the 6th and the 7th. In the major scale, any major scale, the 6th and the 7th degree are all major intervals. So they are major 6th, major 7th. Okay? So if I have to summarize everything now in the major scale, I would say In the major scale, all the intervals are major except the fourth, the fifth, and the octave, which are perfect intervals. So if I'm to name it, I will say major. If I'm to name the intervals in a major scale, I will say major second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh, and perfect eighth. So that's for the major interval. Very straightforward. Let's wrap up with the minor scales. So we've looked at, for the minor scale, we know that the second degree is major. We've talked about that. Fourth degree is perfect. Fifth degree is perfect. Third degree is minor. We talked about the minor third. But what about sixth and seventh degree? Now the sixth and seventh degree, they are not very straightforward in terms of, they kind of differ, because you remember when we deal with the minor scale, we have the harmonic and the melodic minor scale. And the difference in this harmonic and melodic minor scale is whether you sharpen the sixth and seventh note or whether you sharpen only the seventh note. So you see, you are playing around with the sixth and seventh note, and that will therefore affect the degrees. And also, even for the melodic minor scale, it's the way you ascend is different from the way you descend. So you have to, when you are dealing with your intervals for this, especially for melodic minor scale, you have to determine or confirm whether you are dealing with an ascending scale or a descending scale. Because if you are dealing with an ascending scale, the name you will give to the sixth and seventh degree will be different from if you are dealing with a descending melodic minor scale. So what do I mean? In an ascending melodic minor scale, because remember you are sharpening the sixth and the seventh note when you are ascending. So sharpening those sixth and seventh notes is like you are making that minor scale to become a major scale. That's why those sixth and the seventh degrees are sharpened in a melodic minor scale when you are ascending. So it makes it look like a major scale, right? So that means that if you are ascending, the sixth and the seventh degree of an ascending melodic minor scale are major scales, because the ascending melodic minor scale looks like a major scale because of the sharpened sixth and seventh. But when you are descending, in descending, you go back to what we call natural minor scale, because you naturalize all those sharp sixth and seventh sharpen the natural and take it back to the natural minors when you are descending. So in that case, you've removed the sharp and now you have just a natural minor. So the sixth and seventh degree when you are descending in a melodic minor scale now becomes minor sixth, minor seventh. So you see, major sixth, major seventh when you are ascending, but minor sixth and minor seventh when you are descending. For the harmonic scale, it's a bit pretty more straightforward than the melodic scale, because the ascending and the descending are the same. The sixth is minor, but the seventh is major, because remember, you are sharpening only the seventh note in the harmonic minor and not the sixth. So the sixth retains its minor flavor, if I should use that word, but it's only the seventh degree you're sharpening. So the seventh is a major degree, a major seventh, and the sixth is a minor sixth. And it's the same whether you are ascending or descending. The only difference in ascension and descension is for the melodic minor. This is just a quick example of what I've said so far, bringing everything together. If you look at this, major second, this is for the scale of C major and C minor, all right? So C major and C minor, we just pull everything together. So the C to D is the same thing, whether it's major or minor, is C, D. The second degree for C major and C minor is D. So this is major second. The same for both major and minor scales, C major, any other, whatever. I'm just using C major and C minor for example. It's the same for every other major and minor scale. E major, E minor, A major, A minor. It's the same. But when you start going to the third degree now, you see, you have a flat here, because remember in the scale of C minor, the relative major is E flat. So you have C, D, E flat, all right? So the third note is E flat. That's why you have flat here. So this is the third degree of C minor, or a minor scale. It's minor third. But if we are dealing with a major, let's say it's C major, so we are removing, that's why we put our a natural sign here to kind of say we are taking away this flat. So this is C, D, E now. So this is C major, so it's a major third. Perfect fourth for both major scale and minor scale. Perfect fifth for both major scale and minor scale. Now when you come to the 6th degree, it's minor scale, right? It's minor scale for harmonic minor. So this is harmonic minor. Remember, in the scale of C minor, you have E flat as the relative major. So all the flats in E flat will be appearing on the C minor. And that's why you have this A flat here. So it's a minor scale. But that's for the harmonic minor, not the melodic. But you remember, in the melodic minor, you will have to sharpen this 6th note. And how do you sharpen the 6th note? To take away this flat is to add the natural. So you see, by adding the natural, the melodic minor now looks like C major, a major scale, because in a major scale you don't have, you just have A, not A flat. And now this C melodic minor that looks like C major will be called, the 6th degree will be called a major sixth, and that's why I said when you are ascending in a melodic minor, because you are sharpening the 6th note, it's going to look like a major scale, and therefore it will be a major sixth, just like what the 6th degree is in a major scale. All right, so for the minor scale, we have this one actually, a minor 7th. It's only applicable when you are descending in a melodic minor, all right, because you go back to the B flat, where you see the B flat in the C minor. But if you are ascending in a melodic minor, or you are in an harmonic minor where you are sharpening your 7th degree, which is this now, this one, yes. So that means that technically that the major 7th, the 7th degree is a major 7th. It's a major 7th for C major. It's a major 7th for C harmonic minor, because in C harmonic minor, the 7th degree is sharpened. And once you sharpen the 7th degree in a minor scale, that degree becomes a major scale. So also in C melodic minor ascending, you sharpen the 7th degree also. So that is why you have this. And then of course a perfect 8 for all scales, major, minor. Now when you are descending, the only difference when descending, just to note, is this becomes minor 7th for melodic minor, and this becomes minor 6th for melodic minor, because now when you are descending in the melodic minor scale, you are going back to the natural minor. You are removing all the sharps that you added into the 6th and 7th degree when you are ascending. So I think this will just give you a flavor of what it looks like. So when you are giving an interval, think about it. Is it a major scale or a minor scale? There are some similarities between major and minor scales, like we've talked about, and then there are differences. And then where you have the differences, you have to think about, are you ascending or descending? What type of minor scale is it? And the other questions that would come into play. As we conclude, we've talked about intervals, that intervals are defined by number. Not only by number, you have second, third, and you get to 8, but also by quality. We've looked at 3 qualities: perfect, major, and minor. Let me add that the difference between a major and a minor interval is just a semitone difference. Just a semitone difference. So if, for example, major third is 4 semitones, minor third is 3 semitones. If you count major sixths, if you count the number of semitones, let's say from C to A, that's a major sixth. And then you count the number of semitones for a minor sixth from C to A flat. The difference is just a semitone. So bringing out that semitone, reducing a major interval by a semitone will give you a minor interval, but you have to still keep that letter so that it gives you the same number. It's only the quality you want to change, but the number is the same. Just to give you that, but I don't think it's something you need to bother yourself with at this time. So fourth, fifth, eighth, and fourth, fifth, eighth, are all perfect intervals, as we said, for both major and minor scales. Second and major second for both major and minor scale. The differences are just in the other intervals. That's the third, the sixth, and the seventh. And I've told you how to do that. Third is major third for major scale, minor third for minor scales. When you go to the sixth degree is major for major scale, and major for ascending melodic scale, but minor for harmonic scale, and minor for descending melodic scale. Seventh degree is major for major scale, because major scales are all major intervals except the fourth and the fifth and the that are perfect. For minor scales, the seventh is major seventh for ascending melodic, and I've told you the reason why that is the case. But when you are, and also for harmonic melodic, but it is minor seventh for descending melodic scale. I hope that makes sense. You could always rewind this video to kind of go through again some of the things we've said, so that it sticks better and harder on your memory. And that brings us to the end of today's class. So the assignment is as follows. Exercises 1 and 2 on pages 30 to 31 in your ABRSM workbook 3. And then please go through this topic again if you think you need more clarity, as it's very important and will be very useful and handy when you cross over to grade 4. I hope it's been very beneficial. Until we meet again, thank you and may God bless you.